The feast day that we're celebrating today is one of those days when, as the preacher, you look at the schedule and say, oh, maybe the deacon's preaching this weekend. Nope, doesn't look like he is. Okay. Because when we look at this today, as we know, we're celebrating the Holy Trinity, in which, as we know, is a mystery. But yet, we still try and figure it out. And for me, as I was reflecting on it, in some respects, it poses a math problem for us. So I thought, well, if it's a math problem, maybe we need to look at it that way. So we look at it, we have one Father plus one Son plus one Holy Spirit. That's 1 plus 1 plus 1. So if we were doing normal math, 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3. But is that what we have with the Trinity? 1 plus 1 plus 1 and 3 gods? No. So that math doesn't seem to work. So if we deal with God math, 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 1. Okay, so how is this supposed to work? So then that leaves us with a little bit of a dilemma. How does any of the teachers out there are going, oh, Father, it's a good thing you sent those children away? Then that leaves us with a question, doesn't it? How can 1 plus 1 plus 1 equal 1? We don't know. And as I was reflecting on that, I came across a couple of quotes that, for me, help us understand that perhaps a little bit better. Because I think sometimes we get caught up in trying to explain it. We look at different saints in history who have tried. Look at St. Patrick and use the shamrock. We use, I believe, St. John Vianney that used the different states of water. But maybe that's not the direction we should be going in. Because we're never going to be able to explain it, never going to be able to fully understand it. Because it's a mystery. And maybe we can find some peace through these two quotes that I found. The first quote that I found, speaking of the Trinity, it said, with faith, no understanding of mystery is necessary. It's the first part of the quote. With faith, no understanding of mystery is necessary. The second half of the quote is, without faith, no understanding of mystery is possible. So we just think about that for a moment. With faith, we don't have to understand it. Understanding the mystery is not necessary. If we have faith, we believe, we trust, that's good enough. We don't have to have it all figured out. And if we don't have faith, we're not going to be able to figure it out anyhow. So if you don't have faith, it's not going to get you anywhere in trying to solve this mystery. That's the first thing. If we have faith, we just need to accept it and say, wow, that's kind of neat, and leave it there. And the second quote I came across, Trinity is not a problem to be solved. It is a mystery of overwhelming love to be contemplated and adored. Again, reinforcing that idea that you don't have to figure this out. Trinity is not a problem to be solved. It is a mystery of overwhelming love to be contemplated and adored. No, we don't have to solve the problem. We just have to recognize the love that is there and contemplate and adore that. And I think if we approach it from that perspective, it really saves us a lot of worry and fretting over things. Because as we look at our faith, yes, we teach that we have a monotheistic faith, a single God, one God, which we can go back to Abraham is where that was first introduced to us. Although, if we look at Abraham, he started out as a believer in a polytheistic faith. He had many gods. And you'll hear that in scriptures that he carried with him his various gods. But then when he encountered the one true God, then, they got rid of the multiple gods and they had only the one. And then we have Jesus coming, so from Abraham throughout the Jewish faith, one God. And then you have Jesus coming and unpacking that for us a little bit more. Took the understanding of one God and broke it down to another level for us to understand that God had three distinct persons, but they were equally all God. And again, if we try to figure that out, it's going to give us some difficulties, especially if we look at some of the other polytheistic faiths out there. They have multiple gods. So I'm thinking, okay, if I was in one of those faiths, how would that work? They might have the god of wine, the god of fire, the god of water, the god of all these different gods, the god of planting, crops, whatever. So I pray to the one God today. Well, does that mean the other God's going to be jealous that I pray to this God today? We've got multiple gods, so I don't know how they get along too well. So, is that going to put me into a dilemma? Did I pray enough to this one, not enough to that one? Very stressful. But for us, we don't have to worry about that. We have one God, three persons, all equally God. And so therefore, each of those persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, each a little bit different. We have our understanding of each, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, each a little bit different, but they're all one. So it doesn't matter who I pray to. They're all one. So we don't have to worry about, did I pray enough to this one or that one? And the beauty with having one God, but three persons in that God, each one, as I said, is a little bit different. So depending on where I'm at in my journey, perhaps where you're at in your journey, that gives us different ways to approach God. Sometimes I know myself, I really need to be praying to that Father figure for me. I need that in my life, the one who created, the one who sustained, that one that we attribute some of those things to. That's the guidance that I need in my life right now. That's the comfort zone that I'm in. I need that Father-like figure. So whatever I'm going through in my life, that's who I'm going to turn to today. Father, here's my prayer. And to know that as I'm praying to the Father, guess what? The Son and the Holy Spirit are also part of it too. Package deal. But at that moment, it's that Father aspect of God that really speaks to me. And then there are other times, perhaps you've encountered this too, that, the Son. Jesus really is the one that is speaking to my heart today. He's the one that I need to turn to, because he's the one that the Father sent to become one like us in all things but sin. So he's the one, many times, that can most relate, in my mind, to what I go through. As I walk along, I stubbed my toe. I'm thinking that Jesus probably stubbed his toe too. Now, he probably doesn't say some of the things that I do after I do that, but we won't go there. But he's experienced that, no doubt. He's gone through the things that we go through. We hear how, he had friends that denied him, friends that betrayed him. I'm thinking you and I at times have those kinds of situations. He understands because he's gone through it. We hear how he wept at the death of his friend Lazarus. He knows what it means to lose, the life of someone dear to him. So whenever we're dealing with the loss of a loved one, family, friends, whoever it is, he can understand that. He can relate to that. And I think there's that other aspect too that is important that we recognize in Jesus. He's not only there for the difficult times, he's there for the good times, the joyous times too. He was at the wedding feast of Cana. Obviously, he enjoyed having a good time. Now, we know in that story that in the end, Mary had a mission for him. But that wasn't the mission that was originally planned when he first went there. He was just going there to celebrate this special moment in this couple's life and to have fun with them. So that means, Jesus can relate to me too. When, as I said, today we're celebrating confirmation. Wow, that's exciting. Or other joyous things that I'm part of in my life. He can relate to that. So maybe that's who I'm praying to today, is to praying to the Son, because that's where that connection needs to be for whatever it is that I'm going through. And as I'm praying to the Son, guess who's also part of that? The Father and the Holy Spirit. And then lastly, because we don't want to leave anybody out, we have the Holy Spirit, which we celebrated last Sunday, the descent of on Pentecost. And how that Holy Spirit came upon the apostles, came upon the church, and changed them. And so sometimes that's what I need to do. I need to pray to that Holy Spirit. Maybe you need to do that too sometimes and say, okay, change me. Give me that bold faith that courage, the wisdom, the understanding, whatever other gifts that the Holy Spirit can provide for us. Maybe that's where my prayer is today. I need those gifts. I need the fruits of the Holy Spirit: love, joy, patience. Now that's what's going on in my life today. And I can turn to that third person of the Trinity and know that, yes, that's what Jesus gave to us. He said, I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm going to send you an advocate. He sent us the Holy Spirit. And as Paul writes, the Holy Spirit, we are the temples of the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit dwells within us. So we have a person of God dwelling in us, the Holy Spirit, which, if we have the Holy Spirit, you can do the math, the Father and the Son are also sharing in that presence within us. You know, and I think as we look at the Trinity from that perspective, we don't have to worry about solving the problem. You know, we just have to embrace it. You know, and as we heard in that last quote, you know, the Trinity is not a problem to be solved. It is a mystery of overwhelming love to be contemplated and adored. And when we look at it from that perspective, then I think this equation ends with the wrong punctuation. It's not a question mark that we have to deal with. It's an exclamation mark. We don't question. We don't have to worry about questioning. We need to embrace, celebrate, you know, and be thankful that we have such a God. That, yes, this math may not add up according to anybody in math, but in God it does. And for us it does. And that's all that matters. We have a God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, one God, equal among all the persons, united in love, waiting for us, being there for us. You know, that we need to, with that overwhelming love, to contemplate it, adore it, and if I may add, celebrate it. It's when we do that, then that's when we truly are getting the Trinity in the ways that we need to know we have a God who is present to us in the various ways, but always it's one God who's present to us to journey with us on that path that hopefully leads all of us to his heavenly kingdom.